Hi, everybody. It's Richard Harris here from Sales Hacker. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining us in our pre-recorded webinar. It's one I haven't done quite like this in a while. Have two really amazing guests. Tom, I hope I pronounce it right. Well, Tom, I got right, but Discipio, is that right?
You got it, Richard.
Yeah, so Tom is joining us, thankfully from, I think, are you at Inbound?
That's right. I'm at
In
Inbound.
Boston?
Yep.
So
It's a little busier than this hotel room, but yes,
yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Tom is the CRO and managing partner over at IMPACT. We'll talk a little bit more about what IMPACT does later on. We're also joined by Alana Boardington. I hope I didn't do that wrong, Alana.
That's okay. Yeah, Alana Boardington.
Great. She's the manager of business development over at Vidyard, and which is this great tool that I've learned about over the last couple of years. I think it's really amazing. So I really wanted to sort of jump right in. We're talking about a lot of different technology things today, and so the first question I have is what technology can I leverage to save my team time, right? Like, we have heard this efficiency thing for so long, but it's also about being effective. It's not just about being efficient, and you kind of have to make both those things happen. And I'd love to hear from each of you, like, how are you guys doing that from your perspective?
Sure, I can start. So I lead a team of 9 outbound BDRs here in our Vancouver office for Vidyard. So essentially the tech stack is really important for us. I remember when I was a rep, we barely had any technology, and it was a very manual process. So we're very lucky with the tech stack that we have these days. So for our team, because we are going cold outbound prospecting, the first thing that's important for us is our database. So we use ZoomInfo here, which is a really great tool for us to identify accounts to target, but also the personas and the contacts within those accounts that we want to go after. And we also use LinkedIn Navigator, which is really key for us to identify, do we have any mutual connections with this person that we're prospecting, as well as what is their description on their LinkedIn profile? What is it that they're saying about themselves that we can incorporate into our outreach, just to make it that little bit more personalized and really grab their attention. As well, we use a sales acceleration tool. We use SalesLoft here. So, it's specific cadences that tell you when to email, when to do a social touch, when to make a phone call. We've got, popular times of when we should be sending videos. So it's a really great tool for us to follow our cadence and make sure that we're on track with our outbound prospecting. And then we also use an auto dialer. So we've got a pretty thick tech stack. Getting those people on the phone, whether it's a no, it's the second best answer. So then we can stop, take them out of our cadence and move on to other people. And then, of course, since we work at Vidyard, video is a huge part of our outbound strategy. We make a lot of videos. So to save time on our videos, we do personalized one-to-one videos. We also do account-based videos, but we repurpose them throughout our cadence. So we may make a video for, say, Richard, and maybe you don't open it or you don't respond. We'll then later thread our emails back to that original email, just so that we're being most effective with our time. As well, we get the analytics on when people are engaging with the videos. So then see that we're prioritizing those that are engaging with us the most. The tech stack here at Vidyard.
Yeah, I completely relate with you. This was my auto dialer, right? It wasn't the middle finger, but this is, boop, 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 boop. That was my dialer back in the day. And just the fact that we had click to call was like, oh my God, how much time that's going to save me. So I appreciate where you're coming from. Tom, how do you see this, right? How do you see leveraging technology for your team?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great conversation because I'm coming at it from the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So the majority of our leads are all inbound, and we pretty much operate as an inbound sales organization. So we've got about 6,000 people that are converting on our website every month, and then we have to sort of distill that down and identify the people that really want to talk to us or raise their hand. But all of that really starts with, for us, the HubSpot CRM, and leveraging what I like to call an easy but scalable CRM. And we migrated off of Salesforce to get on there. And part of the reason, the majority of the reason why, was mainly because that this system is built more for the rep than it is the manager. And that shouldn't deter managers from the platform at all, but it allows them to move very quickly through deal stages and updating contact records and stuff like that. So that's
what does that mean? I'm going to interrupt you there, Tom, because I think this is something that people would love to hear more about, right? And I agree with you. Salesforce is an amazing data warehouse, right? But if you don't have a PhD, at this point, it's pretty tough to navigate. What do you mean that it's built for the rep? Because I think people would love to, if we're talking about being more efficient and more effective, unpacking that a little bit would be really mindful and helpful to them. Yeah,
no, I'm glad you stopped me on that. It's really allowing them to live in, I guess you would call a single version of truth that's easy and a familiar user interface. So coming out of a very complex user interface that might integrate with a ton of other systems, you've got a singular contact record or a singular deal record where every bit of information about the client lives, and it's just really easily stored. And the workflow from that singular area is just so simple. And the fact that it connects to your email and your meetings tool makes it so simple to navigate between, let's say, Gmail or Outlook and your CRM. Anything you do in email happens in there, and it's very accessible.
Do you feel that, from your perspective, right, you're at the CRO level, and Alana, you may like this too, is like, do you feel like because you moved from a Salesforce to a HubSpot, that your team can now actually do more because they're more efficient, or are they doing it better? Right? Like, I certainly never want to go back to the days of, hey, you better make 100 dials. Like, that's just, spray and pray doesn't work, right? But there is some value to saying, hey, because of the way this is populated at the rep level, because that's the person we're really talking about at the moment, it does make their job more effective and efficient for them. Is that what you saw coming out of sales? Once you get over the learning curve, of course.
Yeah, I think for us, this is going to sound really cliche, but it essentially allows them to save time working on the tool to working with the prospect. So the time they would have been spending updating the tool or managing the tool or learning the tool, they're using that time to talk with the prospect or do other activities that are going to move a deal forward. I think is the way that I've seen it.
So, and again, I'm going to keep drilling you on you because I think this is really just an important question. Are they able to focus less on sort of this task-driven approach that I think Salesforce has encouraged us to do in a meaningful way, to, as you said, being more executionable, meaning the things that you have to sort of manually do in Salesforce are kind of happening a little bit better and faster anyway, so they don't have to spend so much time clicking around?
Yeah, you bring up a good point around the automation side of tasks, and allowing that motion to be automated means that they can spend more time thinking about how to best help the prospect. So tasks is one of those things. As soon as you move a deal from one stage to the next, it automatically prompts you to put in the right information, so you don't have to think about it really, which frees you up to spend more time thinking about, well, this is probably the right solution for the prospect, not that.
Well, that's good, because it's like, if we know it takes, 60 clicks to do something, if you can reduce that by 10 or 15 or 20 clicks, that is real time savings, and you're right, their mind is being sent somewhere else. So that's really great. I appreciate you sort of letting me dig in on that. And Alana, are you on HubSpot or are you on Salesforce?
So we're on Salesforce, but the way that our reps work, they're primarily working out of SalesLoft.
Right.
And so where their efficiencies come from is like the integrations, excuse me. So it's integrated to LinkedIn, so you can do your connection requests, and everything is built out of SalesLoft, including our integration with Vidyard. So you're only really in that one platform, less clicks again.
Yeah, I'm curious if Kyle and the team over at SalesLoft are going to go and sort of re-engineer it and build the website component, right? The HubSpot version from the sales side up. Like, it's interesting to just see where these leaders are coming from, whether it's HubSpot or Outreach or SalesLoft or any of these places, LinkedIn, right now that they're owned by Microsoft. Like it's an interesting space right now to be a sales rep. So it's good. So I'm going to move forward from there if that's all right. The next question that we had is, what are some of the tips for securing that crucial meeting with a key target account, right? Like what are some of the things that you guys are recommending to help make that happen? And maybe this time, if it's okay, maybe we'll start with Tom and then go to Alana and then we'll go back and forth.
Sure. I think Alana is actually going to have a lot more interesting things to say about this because, again, more of our leads are inbound and they've raised their hand and said, hey, Tom, or hey, team, I really want to talk to you guys. I'm ready to buy. So the way that we approach it is less about securing the meeting and more about getting them excited for that first meeting because they've already agreed that they want to do it. And what I sort of would have mentioned as something that we've used to increase our efficiency here is Vidyard's Go Video product has been the thing that has probably increased our efficiency the most out of any other tool that we've used beyond the CRM. Because it's essentially replacing phone calls for us in some ways, not because we don't want to talk to them, but because we understand that prospects are super busy and so are we. And to get somebody excited about that upcoming meeting is a quick minute video that we send before the meeting saying, hey, glad you filled out that form. Here's what to expect in that first call. We're going to go through these things. And after that, you're going to have a pretty easy decision to make whether to do this or that.
So you're sending the pre-meeting agenda. So I teach this as like how to send a pre-meeting agenda, and I've got an email template that I use. You're saying that you do that via video to just make it a little bit more personable.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. And then
obviously you're using Vidyard for that.
Yeah.
And this may go back to Alana, and I know we're going to come back because Alana, I want you to answer this question too, but one of the biggest concerns, and I know this is something you guys have tackled, is that, don't videos and don't links and don't attachments get caught in a spam filter, right? So I'm sure that there's something built into the Vidyard, and I don't want to turn this into a Vidyard pitch, but I know that that's a question people are always concerned about is, I want to use different technology, but I don't want my stuff to get stuck into spam, right? And I don't know, Alana, if you can speak to that, or Tom, what's your experience around that?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that without getting into like too many technical details. It's essentially the same as having an image in your signature. Okay. So it's just a link that's going to take you to another branded sharing page. So in the most simplest terms, if you've got an image in your signature and it's getting through, you're going to have no issues with Vidyard Go Video.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. And Tom, was that a concern for you, just out of curiosity? Like, did that, as you guys were looking at this kind of a tool?
No, only because we like to be humorous in a lot of our emails that we send out. So we'll already use like Giphies and things like that, and those seem to be sending just fine. So the fact that Go Video has the ability to send videos as GIFs, we were like, this is just another a better way for us to do it.
Great. Well, thanks for letting me go off on a little tangent. So, Alana, I want to come back to the question, right, which is, what are some of the tips that to securing that crucial meeting with the key target accounts? What are some of the things that you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's much different than Tom's approach because we are going cold outbound. So we are identifying the key target account in the first place. So a couple things that are really key for us is that we've done our homework, we've done our research. So starting from the subject line, putting something in the subject line that shows that we've done our research and we're reaching out to you personally and specifically you. We, of course, use Go Video as well. And we always want to make sure that the thumbnail shows that we've done our research. So it's not just like a thumbnail of me, but maybe it's a thumbnail of me on their website. Right? We want to show them rather than tell them why we're reaching out to them. Yep. Another key one, too, is we connect via cold calls. Like we still use all the other methods of outreach, including cold calling. So we really use, if you get someone in a key account that agrees to a meeting and maybe you didn't get those 2 nuggets that you really wanted to get on that cold call, but they've, we'll meet, Thursday at 9. Well, then again, use video to follow up to remind them around, like, what is the value? Where specifically do we see Vidyard helping their company, and specifically their company? And this is what we're hoping to talk about to make that it more sticky, that they actually show up to the next meeting.
Yeah. So I want to reiterate something, because I know I've had some clients say, hey, you know what we did, Richard, is we did, hey, David, it's Richard over at so-and-so. And then they send the exact same email and the exact same video to all the Davids in their list, right? So
Right.
I'm glad to hear that you guys are not encouraging that.
No.
Are encouraging, the real customization and personalization. So, I've seen people do that, and I want to make sure people don't misuse the technology, because if they do that, they're not going to get the results in that way. That's not what this session's about. So
yeah, and I mean, even just on that note too, like we do tier kind of our accounts, but even our tier B accounts, we're still going to do persona-based messaging. So, Tom at every account is not going to have the same role. But that's also where we use like LinkedIn Navigator to see like their description and their role summary, so that we can really, every VP of whatever may not have the same responsibilities as the other. So we're looking for specific sticky points for them. And another way that we get into key accounts is using referrals. So we're looking at our LinkedIn networks. We're looking for mutual connections. We're using our executives within our organization for executive alignment. So if we're really trying to get into a key account, we're trying to get a hold of the director of business development. I'll get our director of business development to maybe send a personalized video, send it via LinkedIn or email, just to drive that peer-to-peer alignment. We've really seen success with that as well. Oftentimes when it's just the account executive, they're, the person on the other line thinks, oh, they just want a sale, versus how we can actually help them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Tom, does your team do that? Do they say to you, okay, Tom, this is a good one. We really need you to step in, and, we're going to, ask you to shave a little bit and do your hair up nice with some gel, right? I'm jealous. Are you stepping into and doing some of that kind of stuff with your team?
Yeah. So first I want to say I'm learning a lot from Alana on this call. But yeah, there are moments we're probably working perhaps a smaller number of deals at a time. So yes, it does happen on a small number of deals that come in. It's like, hey, Tom, can you create a video for this prospect that's looking for X, and tell them about your experience in doing, driving BMWs, because we found out that they're really, excited about that, and creating those moments for sure.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I think the internal referral is always great. In that peer-to-peer referral, or even that C-level, request, it means a lot that, if I see Tom making a video for Richard, it's like, wow, Tom is the CRO, and he took 30 seconds, and I, probably know it took him 6 tries, although maybe you're an expert, right, to get it right. So it means something, right? It's like getting a real piece of mail, old school, right?
Yeah.
To see that kind of stuff come in again on a regular basis.
And Richard, you bring up a really good point there. It's something I wanted to put into my last talk at Impact Live last year, but I was really focused on time. But it's almost like, if you guys remember in maybe like grade school or middle school, somebody passes you a note, you have to look at it.
Yes.
It's so personalized. And I feel the same way about video.
Yeah.
If you see in the subject line, like there's brackets and it says video or something else, you have to look at it. I feel like we're in that position right now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. There's something obviously something fresh. I think that's the beauty of Vidyard and what that has accomplished. And even the rule of reciprocity is like, someone's willing to send me something different. Psychologically, we're geared towards, as humans, to be curious about what that is, regardless of the content, right? It's like, oh, this is different. I need to look at that.
Yeah. I think an important part too, and Tom, you touched on this just about like motorcycles, I think, but I mean, having video and having that great personalized content is great to have in your email, but you first need to have them click, open the email. So like you mentioned, Tom, having brackets with video, but even like trying out new things of putting in brackets motorcycles. again, anything you can find from their LinkedIn, it may not be relevant, but now that they've opened the email and then they see the video, your chances of that meeting have just skyrocketed.
I love it. This is so good.
I love it. I actually have a question for you guys, right? And Tom, you can go downstairs and do this, right, with your cell phone, or dare I suggest we start using GoPros for this kind of stuff, right? And doing, hyper creative, crazy videos live in the moment. Hey, I'm at Inbound today, but I just want to let you know I saw this booth that I think you would really be interested in. We still want to talk to you, or something like that. Are you starting to see or experience that, either one of you, as sort of, hey, the standard is, hey, let me stand here and put this sign up while I do the video, right? But over time we need to get more creative, right? Like, what are and this isn't one of the questions, what are the most creative videos you guys have seen?
Alana, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe just on like the topic of events. So, for example, we have a mobile app. So when people come to our booth, they'll do a video together. They'll say, hey, what's your email address? Send them that video that they just did together, and now you've got an email string that you can respond to later on.
Right? And a live video. So, because you're right, as I walk through Inbound or Dreamforce or anything, it's like, oh my God, how many booths did I sign up for? And look, oh God, I've got 16 tchotchkes of Purple Dragon stuff like that. Right? Like, yeah. I can't remember everybody. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, but if you see yourself in the video with the person, then that visual recognition, and then your BDR or whoever is at the booth now has an email string where they can follow up.
This is great. I know, God, this has turned a little bit into a Vidyard pitch.
Yeah.
I apologize to the audience, but I'm hoping these are good ideas for people anyway. So,
and Richard, just on that point, like in terms of creativity, I don't think we've really, at least in our team, exploited the creativity as much as we probably could have, but I look at it more as the when creativity. You can get creative as to when you send these videos, because a lot of times prospects are it's still so new that instead of receiving a recap email, they get a recap video. That when moment is so creative for them that it just energizes. And I don't know a better word for that, but it's like deciding when is our creative outlet for that.
I think that's a great idea.
That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about stalled deals, right? And let's we can talk about Vidyard some more, but let's try to use some other technology stuff we've done. What do you guys do using the tech stacks that you have, the sales stacks, to get to revive those stalled deals, right? Or the ones that have gone dark, right? I've got my email templates that I teach people to use, but what are some other creative things you've done?
From my team, one of the things that we do a lot and often is a lot of social touches. So liking and commenting posts or articles that your prospects have written, it just reminds them of you again and reminds them that you're a real person. Mm-hmm. So we found that helps a lot, just even the likes and the comments on LinkedIn and Twitter.
How about you?
I could go back to Go Video, but I'll give another example here. One of the cool things that we do is we use Drift, which is the conversational marketing platform. And when somebody comes to our website and they get cookied, if they turn into a deal and we happen to be working that deal and for some reason, the deal stalls or it's lost, if they come back to our site, we actually get notified and we can re-engage them via the chatbot, and we can customize the message to them. So it could be like, welcome back, Richard. Hey, sorry things didn't work out, but is there anything else you could use our help with, or how are things
really cool
going?
Yeah.
So re-engage in the conversation in an unexpected moment via chatbot.
That kind of goes back to your moment a minute ago where you said it's the win factor, mm-hmm. right? Like at that moment of communication, you're trying to approach them from a cookie perspective. I like that. I like that approach. Mm-hmm. And Alana, do you guys use anything like Drift or Intercom for stuff like this too?
We do. That's more of our inbound team though, which is based out of our Ontario office. The outbound team doesn't use that here. So like we primarily use Go Video. Mm-hmm. So if we see them that they're, on our website, or, again, back to the when, if there's some compelling event that's come up that we've seen on LinkedIn, we're going back to see what is their engagement with our content, reminding them why they wanted to talk to us in the first place, how we'd help them, and just see kind of, what's going on based on their engagement with our videos.
Great. I'm gonna unpack that a little bit too, Alana, because you hit on something, and I'm curious how you guys would use technology, particularly as you start to have inbound and outbound teams. And Tom, maybe if you have experience from another org, unless you guys do have a little bit of outbound. If I'm doing outbound, right, I'm outbounding, and then they come inbound onto the website, and it goes through an intercom or a drift. What are you guys doing in your organization from a rules of engagement, right? Because let's face it, it's about compensation, right? Everybody wants to be compensated. And I think this is a challenge that every organization I know has. And I'd be curious as to how you guys are leveraging technology to try and mitigate that problem. I don't know if we're ever going to solve it entirely, but how do you guys do that? Or is it still a manual process?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we don't technically have any technology, but if a BDR is going outbound into an account and someone within the same department of that company comes inbound, we give credit to both teams. If it's a different department, we just probe and ask around, how did you find out about us in the first place? And if they mention anything about the BDR or internal conversations. Mm-hmm. So essentially, we try to find out, did the BDR source it? But if we can't find that out, if it's the same division, they both get comped.
That's great. I love the fact that you guys will double comp. Thank you. Like, the thing that my biggest pet peeve is when someone's trying to prevent paying a commission. It's like, really, like, if our biggest problem is we don't know we don't want to double commission, from a margins perspective, then you got a bigger problem on your hands, as an organization. So, Tom, just out of curiosity, do you see the same kind of situation, or have you seen that experience, or can add to that?
I think I can add to it, but I just want to avoid any flamethrowers here because I think it's a bit unique in our space. We actually don't use commission for our salespeople. And so we actually avoid all of those conversations around who gets credit and when. And we really use more of an SLA where it's more on response time. And that it has to be as fast as possible, because if it's not, the prospect's somewhere else. They're going to get the answer somewhere else. Yeah,
with 6,000 inbounds a month, I can appreciate that speed is the need, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So, and that would be I would love to have that webinar with you too about not comping on commission, right? So,
I would too, because it's an interesting conversation to have, and let's talk more about that.
Yeah. Otherwise, this whole thing's, thank God we didn't do this one live, because we would now be littered with questions, right? With your flamethrower.
Yeah.
So Alana, I do have a question, right? So you said, hey, I outbound this. Let's say I outbound to Coca-Cola, and I go after these 20 people, and all of a sudden someone else comes in. Look, Coca-Cola is huge, right? Someone else comes in from another department. Are you using technology behind the scenes to notify whoever's managing the inbound to say, hey, real quick, here are the other 20 people in the system from that. See if you can quickly see if they're from the same department, or is that still a manual piece? Like, are you using, the different data providers like Zoom? I think you said you use Zoom Info and stuff like that.
We use Zoom Info for our contacts and our accounts, but that's all done through Salesforce. So we've got custom fields built in with check marks to say, has this contact, has this account been touched by a BDR in the last 30 days, last 90 days? And they can just quickly skim down for check marks. Okay. And then we use Slack between our two offices to correspond and figure it out.
So you are using technology to help solve that problem. That's good. Okay. Yep. Cool. All right. I think we have one more question, unless I come up with something else, which is possible. Just trying to pull it up real quick. So how can how can our team start more conversations from cold outreach, right? Like, again, this is the key, and this is Tom, I know this is going to be different for you, but Alana, what are the other things? Look, yes, the video works. Like, we get it, you know, and of course you have to sort of, you know, use what you guys practice what you preach. But what are the other ways that your team is engaging in cold outreach that gets response? Because I think people are always trying to, to tackle this challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we use a number of different channels. Video is just one of them. We still are using social. So LinkedIn and Twitter, we're very active on there. One of my BDRs has been very active in doing webinars, and she's just following up on all of the comments that are coming through, and those are becoming opportunities for her. Mm-hmm. Our auto dialer, so we're still making those phone calls. Our sales off cadences, so not only do we have video in our emails, but we're also sending some just text-based emails. So oftentimes we'll send the first email with the video, and the next email threaded to that is just, what are your thoughts on the video? Yep. We also are looking at things like, just in terms of, again, the when and times of days to email and call. That's all really important for us to break through and get those meetings.
Yeah. Tom, and maybe I'm going to frame this a little differently for you, Tom. Mm-hmm. I can assume that even some of your best inbound leads don't always reply quickly, right? Clearly inbounds do tend to reply at a higher capacity. But at some point, you got to have more than a handful of people who are like, they came in inbound, you guys are super excited about this logo, but they're not responding. Mm-hmm. And in that instance, they might be a little bit more, cold, right? How do you guys get creative? How do you guys get those people back on the horn?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to Go Video on this one because we've seen so much success with it. It's like, it's hard to deny. And a quick example is that we actually had an inbound lead and we had an initial conversation. And after that first conversation, we were like, oh, well, we're not sure if we're the best fit for each other at this point in time. So we kind of both went our separate ways. And after talking with my client success specialist who handles all of our initial first calls, we're like, you know what, let's reach back out and see if there's something that can happen here. And she did a quick Go video and he watched it right away, and he watched it twice. Like, we could see him watching it 2 times. And normally that's a signal for her to reach back out. But he was so excited that he reached back out and he said, I'm ready to talk more about budget. We want to invest more in this thing that you guys do. And we're like, that's great. And he was like, also, I was about to go forward with this other organization and I got your video and it stopped me from doing that because I want the organization that understands the technology on that level and, does what you guys do. So It was almost an interception in a competitive situation. Yeah.
So I have a question, Alana, and actually for both of you. I actually sparked a debate on LinkedIn, of all places, for cold outreach, which is, don't pitch me in your first connection request and don't pitch me in an in-mail, right? Like and granted, I'm not the guy who's going to buy tools, right? I'm a sales trainer. I do my own training. I've got my own organization, so I don't have a team. I am curious from people who have teams. Am I right about that? Am I wrong about that? Am I just being an angry, grumpy Gen Xer of like, get off my lawn? You haven't earned the right to ask me that question? Or is there some truth to it? I'd be curious to just what you guys have experienced from a cold outreach perspective on LinkedIn in particular, as we talk about social.
So for myself, I leave a lot of autonomy up to my reps. So I'd say half of them do the pitching through InMail and through LinkedIn, and half of them just do the let's stay connected. I want to share some resources. So a lot of times the reps that are pitching are, hey, I sent you a video sharing how similar or people in similar positions to you are using our tool to help them do X, Y, and Z. Get them back to their inbox to try to find that video, or resending it through LinkedIn. Others are, hey, I'm working with a lot of people similar to you in the space. I came across this article. I think you'd like it. Check it out.
I love that. Like, I love the, hey, here's an article. I'm trying to add some value to your life. I do know that you're going to turn around and pitch me at some point, but I like that approach. But I do see the value of what you're saying is that it sounds like your team is only using the in-mail or the pitch in the in-mail or the connection request as a second or third step in the cadence, not the first step, right? Like they've already sent a video, so video is sort of your first thing, and then everything can reference back to that. If I understood it, Alana, or do people?
Typically, we'll do a connection request first because we're already on their LinkedIn profile doing our target research before we do our initial outreach. But usually that will be a pretty generic connection request. And then we'll go through and we'll send our email or do our cold calls, and then we'll go back to our social channels.
Got it. By the way, do you know if SalesLoft, and again, because we're talking about tech, do you know if SalesLoft measures the number of connections you sent and then the conversion to the actual people who connected to you? Have they? I know they've started to work with LinkedIn a little bit more, interestingly.
Yeah, they've started the integrations. I have not personally yet seen the percentage of those that are connecting with you.
That would be huge if they did it. So Kyle and Rob over there, please do that. Same with folks at Outreach. Maybe they have it. I don't know. Tom, how about you? Like, how do you see, maybe from the CRO level, you're getting pitched. You're the customer. Do you care if they pitch you in the connection request? Do you care if they pitch you in the in-mail when they haven't done any other value add first? Or do you just sort of like, it's no big deal. It's just part of the game.
For me personally, I obviously understand when the pitch comes to me, but I get frustrated when I see that, and I delete it immediately. And again, I don't know if I'm the right sample size for this, but the things I respond to most are, and I would consider the same approach for making a video, are the authentic messages, which might be one line and it's a question. For example, I got a question the other day from LinkedIn message was, "Are you going to inbound?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like I had no chance, I had to respond, and it was a software organization, and whether or not we move forward or not, he got the engagement.
Right.
So I think that, and I also want to pull in the same thread that Alana was talking about, which is starting with helpfulness, and being a resource for the person, even if they didn't ask. And leading with that helpful statement. It's like, "Hey, I saw that you were connected with this person. They're very good at this. You should talk to them about that." Or here's a resource for you and whatever you're trying to do.
That's great. I'll give everybody the one thing that engaged me the best is somebody was trying to connect with me, and I'm not the guy you need to pitch. Like, I'm just not that person. But on about his fourth or fifth one, he just wrote real simply in all lowercase, "Pretty, pretty please," and that was it. Like, just, it was creative, it was different, and I actually responded and gave him, I gave him 15 minutes of my time just to tell him what a good job he did. So
that's awesome.
I like that.
I think it's also important too to understand like the word pitch, right? Like in our outreach, we're not Vidyard, me. It's all about when speaking with others like yourself, they've encountered these issues. Here's how we're helping X, Y, and Z. So it's much more of a focused conversation versus here's what we can do, here's our features, here's our functionality. So I think in the way that you deliver it too is really important.
Yeah, personalization is as much about persona and pain, right? It's almost like pain is a visualization, if that's a word, right? Based on who that person is. So that's really great. So we're kind of almost at the end. I'd love to give each of you a minute, to talk a little bit about what your organization does. And Alana, I'm going to let Tom go first because we've kind of talked a lot about Vidyard, but I still will give you a shot.
Sure.
Talk about IMPACT. Tell us about what you guys do over there.
Yeah, so IMPACT is an inbound marketing agency, but we're also an inbound marketing and digital marketing publisher. So we have a really large blog. We're publishing 2 to 3 pieces of content a day. And we also help other organizations do the same, become publishers, and execute inbound marketing campaigns from a strategic perspective, from an education perspective. So we work with clients from, probably in the small to mid-market space. As far as myself, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and Managing Partner, and I basically lead our sales and client success team. And that team's responsible for the overall revenue growth by adding new clients to the organization, advocating for existing clients and the success of existing clients, and then fostering partnerships with other organizations that allow us to provide more to our clients. So more beyond, we are a HubSpot partner, so we work with HubSpot to provide that for our clients, tools like Vidyard and other examples like that.
So if I'm looking for something like Tom, what am I looking to accomplish if I want to talk to Impact, right? If I'm an organization, like what are you helping me do better?
Yeah, so essentially we're helping you. This is great. I love the question here. So we're helping the organization reach the revenue targets that they have. So marketing, the marketing team might come to us and say, we're responsible for growing the number of leads we deliver to sales so we can increase our overall revenue for the year. And we'll help them put together the marketing strategy or the sales strategy or plan in place to actually achieve those numbers. So to generate more MQLs, to generate more SQLs.
Talk about those strategies. Again, I'm trying to give people a tangible thing that they can walk away with going, okay, now I know what Tom's team does, right? What are those tangible strategies? Like, what are the top 3 you guys tell people to do?
Sure. So a lot of it starts with the foundational things like your website. So we'll help you redesign your website and design it in a way that converts more visitors, drives more traffic. You're getting them how to content the contain process on any hub platform for our client, and we coach how to help you implement
cool.
value.
Cool. Thanks for letting me dig in a little bit on that. Alana, here's your shot in case people haven't figured out what you guys do, right? And do talk about Vidyard Go, right? Like explain what that means too, because for people, a lot of people know you as Vidyard, you do videos, but let's give them a better understanding of more than just that, because I know it's more than that.
Yeah, sure. So maybe I'll kind of break it up into 2 descriptions. So essentially, at high level, Vidyard is a video hosting platform for businesses. So on the marketing side, you can see organizations are creating more and more video. It's all over their websites, it's on their blogs, their email campaigns, etc. So we're actually behind the scenes as their hosting platform. So we're giving them the analytics of who's watching their videos so that they can generate qualified leads. They can see their customer engagement and also optimize their video content. On the sales,
does the video have to be shot by Vidyard? Like, does it have to be shot in the Vidyard platform, or could you take my YouTube videos that I've done and I can load them into your platform on my website? Like,
yeah, exactly. So we're not a video production company.
Right.
So we would host your videos on our platform, and then we can distribute those centrally from one location to whether it's YouTube, your social channels, your website, wherever.
But my video's got to be shot with the Vidyard platform first.
No, it's imported into the Vidyard.
Oh, it can be. Okay, yeah. Great. Yeah. Okay, so that is not something. Okay, that feels like Amazon AWS, right? Like this whole other thing you guys do. That's cool.
And then, yeah, on the sales side, so Vidyard Go Video is our tool where you can create selfie style or screen share videos to send them out to your prospects to engage them, internal communications to communicate within your organization, and for support use cases. So really you're building trust and authenticity through video. And again, you can track the analytics. So if I sent it to a prospect, I can tell when they've watched it, if they shared it, how many times they've watched it, so that I can prioritize my follow-up accordingly.
Great. Can I do like Instagram bunny ears and funny noses, or are we not at that stage yet? Are we not there yet?
So there's no filters at this stage, but you're more than welcome to buy those bunny ear the headbands.
Awesome. Well, hey, again, I want to thank both of you for connecting with us. I assume if people want to get in touch with you, probably the easiest thing is LinkedIn to get a hold of you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Want to know more about what they do? Please talk to Tom or Alana, or feel free to go to their website and go through their lead funnel and see what that feels like too. I always encourage that, and give them feedback. But if you do that, you got to give them honest feedback, right? You got to let them know if the lead funnel worked, right? But thank you both so much for giving time and for letting me sort of go a little bit off the standard path for questions and digging in on stuff. It's meaningful when we can just get super, as we say, authentic and creative with these conversations.
Absolutely.
This was a blast, Richard. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having us.